Hey everybody, actually I need to get, I don't think I have my mic set up right here. I thought I was prepared. I was wrong. Alright, gotta get the right mic. Where did it go? Hello, hello. Okay, alright, got the mic. Uh, yeah, so, just a couple things in this real quick before I get started. Um, I'm going to be going through the different each person's questions, probably one by one, and then going through those. And there are a couple that I am going to skip for now, and the reason why is I did not really anticipate how much I was going to be working this last weekend, and trying to do some of those that were specific, like facts. Yeah, those didn't jive very well, and honestly. One of the great things about doing something new like this is that I get to kind of play around with and see what things I really enjoy doing or which things are me. And I'll be honest with you, even in history class, if the things I did not like in history class were specific facts, the things I loved in history class, we're talking about how things that happen within history affected the larger world. Like more of a feel type thing. So there's a couple on those there that I may in the future, when I have more time, get to on specific videos. But I think in the future when we do these, they are going to be more questions, answers, and my reaction to specific things, and less about. First of all, I'll probably drop the books and comic books. From any of the questions because I realized how much I don't know very much about those things. But anyways, we're gonna get this going. We're gonna start with the birthday boy himself, who is not going to be here with us during the this broadcast here. He's going to be on watching the Battlefront 2 play later. But that's Luke. So he starts out asking, uh, out of all the villains, which do you think was the most powerful and successful? Well, first of all, most successful, I don't think that there's any doubt that there's only one answer to that, and that's Darth Jar Jar, of course. I'm kidding. Palpatine, the way he was able to play the long game, and even be able to come back and still have his game plan still going years later in the Rise of Skywalker, I don't think that there's any doubt that he's the most successful villain. As far as more powerful, I really think it's got to be Palpatine too. I think that if he wasn't, I believe that Vader would have taken him out earlier. Palpatine just the way he was able to take on Kit Fisto and the other Jedi when they tried to arrest him. I mean, the way he was able to go toe to toe with Yoda, to fight Mace Windu, and basically from what I believe on that, I think he kind of lets Mace Windu win. I think he wanted Anakin to come in. Uh, Hey, what's up, Flickster? Oh yeah, I'm not paying attention to chat right now. But anyways, I think he lets Mace Windu win there because he wanted Anakin to come in and save him, which was going to help push Anakin to the dark side. So I would have to say Palpatine overall. I know that there's some way back in the day that might be more powerful. One of my favorite ones, Flickster. I will look at that later. Uh, but ask in the chat when I get to the open question portion of this. Ask in the chat after that. It'll probably be about 30 minutes from now. Uh, but yeah, I know Darth Bane is one. I read the first book in his trilogy, and he was pretty powerful too. But even then, I think Palpatine was more powerful than he was. What are my thoughts on the different eras, prequels, sequels, and do they fit together? This is a tough question to ask. First of all, I love the prequels. I love the original trilogy. Um, Flickster, ask me that question later. I'm just concentrating on this right now, on the questions that are already that I have specifically in front of me. I feel like the prequels and the original trilogy were so well done by George Lucas, even though George Lucas needed to hire writers to help him with the dialogue. He needed to hire directors to help direct actors. There's a lot of things wrong with the prequel and original trilogy eras. If you look at the sequel era trilogy, uh, better directed actors, overall better dialogue, but the story just wasn't there. And that's what I'll say about the sequels. The sequels were so poorly planned. There was no game plan in the beginning. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy really dropped the ball with that. She should have had as soon as they decided they were going to do three more movies, there should have been a story group sitting together, all getting on the same page of what those three movies were going to be, so they could create one cohesive story. And that the fact that they didn't do that was a shame. So my biggest complaint about the sequel era trilogy is probably Rise of Skywalker and the fact that supposedly it was supposed to be the conclusion to the entire Skywalker saga. Yet there were, how do you do that and not have Anakin somehow appear in the Rise of Skywalker? Uh, I would say I like, even though I'm a little older, I like the prequels the best. I like the original trilogy second. I like the sequel trilogy third best out of that. As far as actually movies, the sequel trilogy films are probably the best done movies, but they're the worst Star Wars movies of those nine, in my opinion. How do you believe Palpatine could have possibly survived, come back to life? First of all, he didn't survive or come back to life. His Sith spirit was still around, and as far as I know, and I'm pretty sure this is canon, he actually was able to imbue all the different Sith entities that he had absorbed, uh, and he was able to put those into a clone of himself. And the reason why he really wanted to basically get those Sith spirits into Rey or Kylo was the fact that the clone bodies that he had weren't really holding up very well, and he was kind of at the end where he needed to get the spirit somewhere else, otherwise he was gonna die for real. And of course, he did die for real in the end. Uh, if a new Star Wars story was coming out, which character would you like to know more about and have explained, excluding Palpatine? Plagueis. Darth Plagueis, the Wise. We I really want to know what he set up. How much of, because in Legends a lot of this is explained, but those are no longer canon. I want to know how much of what happened in the prequels and even farther and beyond were part of Darth Plagueis' uh, design, and how much of it was Sidious slash Palpatine kind of deciding on his own path afterwards. Do I think Star Wars will live on in future generations? Here's the key. These next few years are going to be very important. They can't mess up the next movies. They have to be well done. They have to be well thought out, and they need uh, younger generations and even old school people to. They need us, everybody, to fall in love with new characters. And it's if they don't do that, then Star Wars could be in danger. Do I think it's going to survive, live on in future generations? I would say yes. I think that Disney Plus is going to give us all kinds of characters that people are going to fall in love with. I think that the story is going to be safe, but they can't continue doing uh, they can't continue doing things the way that they have since Disney purchased them, which is loosey goosey, no cohesion, no design on the story, and they just honestly cannot have Kathleen Kennedy in charge of Star Wars. I'm sorry. I've heard and I've seen people talk about Kathleen Kennedy, and apparently she's one of the best film producers of all time. However, she is not a very good Star Wars producer. You need somebody else. You need somebody that's more interested in world building, and then you need a story group put together. So it's really going to depend. Honestly, this I will put it this way: if Star Wars continues on in future generations, it's gonna be determined by how it is at the top of the organization, who runs Lucasfilm, who's in charge of the creative direction, and whether or not they actually have creative people, Star Wars fans, not a J.J. Abrams or Ryan Johnson, who are great directors. I don't care. I mean, yes, I want them to be good and great directors, but for the most important thing is they have to live, breathe, eat Star Wars. They have to love Star Wars. None of this, hey, you're the great new director right now. Let's throw you in here. That doesn't work. They can't do that. And I think if Filoni and Favreau get their way and kind of get it put in charge of the direction of Star Wars, not only will it live on in future generations, but it has a chance of retaking the MCU as the biggest media, empire once again. Have I seen the Robot Chicken Star Wars video? Actually, I have seen that. That is very funny, the one that you put in there. And if anybody hasn't seen all of the Robot Chicken Star Wars stuff or the Family Guy Star Wars stuff, look at those. There's some of the best parodies of Star Wars out there. So moving on, we are going to go to SWB. So now this first one, which clones disobeyed Order 66 other than Rex, Wolf, and Gregor? I did a little research on this, and as far as actual canon, and if you consider disobeyed being that they went against the chips, uh, there's not many, and in fact, they're the ones that disobeyed that still have the chips in their head. From what I saw in canon, is non-existent. Uh, Rex had a moment where he disobeyed, but even then, the chip was so powerful that, I mean, him and Ahsoka were like brother and sister, yet he still fired on her. So I didn't see anything within that where any of the clones really disobeyed uh, Order 66. Uh, Now, there's probably, if we look at Cut, which is what the deserter, I believe. He probably wasn't around any Jedi. It would be interesting to see if once Order 66 happened, if he left his family and went off and tried to find Jedi to kill. I would guess no, but at the same time, that'd be interesting to see. Um, but that's another one of those. I those types of questions. I think when we do these in the future, when they're uh, if they're worded differently, and if somebody gives me a question and says, these are the facts that I've come up with, what are your thoughts on that? I'll probably go with those. But anything that takes a lot of research, I'm just literally not going to have a lot of time between work and trying to grow this channel. So who are the characters in all of Star Wars who were more important than we thought they when we first saw them? Qui-Gon Jinn. I think when we first saw him, he seemed like the guy that was in there in the beginning. He was meant to be the person that got Anakin together with Obi-Wan, and I think Qui-Gon ended up being much more wise than many of the other Jedi. I think he was the spiritual precursor to Ahsoka, in that he wasn't down with the BS. He was more about following the Force, the will of the Force, than any kind of political BS. Uh, the fact that he really truly understood what the Force was trying to tell him when it came to Anakin. I think Qui-Gon was way more important than what I think any of us ever thought. And then Tarkin. I mean, Grand Moff Tarkin, despite the fact of getting blown up in the Death Star, uh, let's see, he the way that Grand Moff Tarkin did things for the Empire was one of the main reasons why the rebellion was able to grow. And it's mostly because he had this thought that if they used such overwhelming power, that nobody would ever try to go against the Empire. And really, what Grand Moff Tarkin did was he created an atmosphere where a rebellion could grow because he was so cruel. And I think Tarkin just doesn't get enough credit for everything that he did wrong in really making the rebellion something that could eventually take down the Empire. Let's see. Okay, who do you think the saddest sacrifices in Star Wars and best last stands? Gosh, the saddest sacrifices. Well, first of all, the best last stand I would have to say is Maul going up against Obi-Wan. That was a beautiful lightsaber battle. Uh, it's a lot of people say that they wish that was a longer duel and that it should have been a longer duel. But I think the fact that Maul had all this rage and was never able to get over that, was never able to find kind of the inner peace, and yet Obi-Wan was able to be, uh, so much more of a, one with the Force. And I think that that was a beautiful battle that showed what can happen when you have somebody that's just full of rage and out of control, and you have somebody that's kind of fully in control of their mental faculties, and the fact that the person that's more in control is usually going to win those fights. Uh, as also one of the saddest sacrifices, as much as I wasn't a huge fan of Holdo, and as much as I wish that was Akbar, that was a role that should have been Admiral Akbar. They didn't need to create a new character, but I thought that that was a fairly sad sacrifice. I think that you can uh, definitely tell that she was somebody that Leia had a lot of respect for. Uh, but moving on. When did Palpatine first make his plan to destroy all the Jedi? First of all, it wasn't. I I think it was Plagueis, and once again, a lot of that is legends. But I think if we ever see Plagueis' story before that, I believe that I think that it was his plan, and he brought in Palpatine to help execute that plan. The gosh, what is the name of their? I think Muns or something like that, which is what Plagueis was. He knew that it was very difficult for somebody that wasn't human to really grow in the ranks of the Republic. He knew that it needed to be a human that would eventually take over the galaxy to be able to make his dreams come true, which is destroying the Jedi. So Palpatine was his apprentice partially because of that, but I think he laid the groundwork down for to destroy all the Jedi. And really, I think it goes back even farther than that. I think even in the beginning with Darth Bane at the beginning of Rule of Two, it was always something that the Sith had been planning for a long, long time. Uh, Finally, do you think Baby Yoda will ever find a home? So yes. The question is, what will the home be? At first, I thought for sure what it would be is that Baby Yoda uh, and hey, be nice there, Flickster. Be welcoming to new people. But at first, I thought it was he was going to end up with Jedi. So whether that was being somehow getting to Luke, and then we find out that maybe Baby Yoda left for someplace else before Ben Solo killed a bunch of them, or somehow Baby Yoda survived that, or if he went with Ahsoka, Ezra, Cal, or any of those. I'm starting to think differently, though. I think that uh, Baby Yoda's actual home is going to be with the Mandalorians. I'm starting to think that. Oh, he was? Okay. I did not see that part, SWB. But I think that he's going to be the next Jedi Mandalorian. And I think that they're going to throw off expectations. Uh, I think he's going to be shown uh, to be trained in the Jedi way to some extent. He's going to be shown to learn to resist the dark side. I think there's going to be parts in the Mandalorian where you see him struggling with the dark side, and they have to bring in somebody like Ahsoka or Ezra or one of the other ones to help him not get to fall to the dark side. But I think in the end, he is going to be a Mandalorian. In fact, I think that we're all being fooled by who the title character of the Mandalorian is. Uh, oh, you don't like PewDiePie. Uh, I don't think. that the Mandalorian is actually Din Djarin. I think in the end, the title character of the Mandalorian is going to be Baby Yoda. He is going to be the next uh, great Mandalorian. And you're going to see him in little Mandalorian armor, and it's going to be fantastic. Uh, it's that would be kind of cool. So on to the next one. Alex, who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Was that Patrick? I think it was Patrick. I don't know. I don't know. You have to ask Gerard on that one. He probably knows more than me. Uh, Now the next one: did Darth Vader kill Commander Fox? That one I don't know. That one's more uh, a question of facts that I'm not going to get into. Hey, what's up, Mace? How many times did Palpatine die? Now Palpatine, as far as his physical body, we know died at least once. Now, do I think that he went through a bunch of bodies? Yes, I think that his spirit went into many different clone bodies, and none of them really worked out that well, and that's why he was looking for some fresh blood in either Kylo or Rey. Now, as far as how many times he officially died, he died. He fully died once, where his spirit was gone. Uh, you're Mr. Beast. Nice. Uh, I do not think Palpatine is coming back. I think his spirit is gone. I think that all the Sith that he came with, apparently, if he was all the Sith, I think all of them are gone. And I hope that they don't go back to that well again. I hope they don't go back to Palpatine again. He needs to stay dead. They need to come up with new things. How many Sith were there during the Clone Wars? Now, okay, so first of all, being a dark side user and being a Sith are not the same thing. Uh, Being a Sith is a specific organization and code. So technically, there were only two Sith at any point. There was Palpatine and Maul. There was Palpatine and Dooku, and then there was Palpatine and Vader. Other than that, and really, if you and really the Clone Wars, if yeah, the Clone Wars are still on briefly when Anakin became Vader. So there was only, you know, let's see, one, two, what, four total Sith. Now, with that being said, there were other practitioners of the dark side in Asajj Ventress. Maul became still a dark side user despite no longer being a Sith. But yeah, there was only four as far as I know. Now, where's Bad Batch after the Clone Wars? This is something I would love to see, whether it's in a book, whether it is. Nope, Mason, I will answer that one because that was related to the specific question. Uh, Kylo was never a Sith. He was never trained as a Sith. He was a dark side user. Uh, Once again, the Jedi and being a light side user of the Force is not the same thing. You just because you use the light side primarily doesn't mean that you are a Jedi. A Jedi is a specific code. Just because you're a bounty hunter or you're a warrior doesn't make you a Mandalorian. A Mandalorian is a specific code. But as far as the Bad Batch, I want to know. I want to know what happened to them. Were they around some Jedi? They weren't necessarily the ones that were underneath a specific Jedi. Uh, so so I don't think that. Hold on just a second. I do not think that. Oh, I gotta do one thing real quick. I'll be right back into this. Hold on just a moment. Oh, let's see here. All right. All right. I had to take care of something real quick there. So, if they were not around any Jedi, did they actually end up uh, executing Order 66? Did they go off and they weren't around Jedi? Did they hunt Jedi? And I think, I would love to see that they. Uh, I would love to see that they did not have the inhibitor chips because they were mutated, and there was something about them that kept them from having them in their heads, and that would be cool. And if you look at uh, Echo, Echo is with them, and he had stuff done to his head. It would be cool to find out that despite all those bad things that happened to Echo, that his chip was actually taking me out. Uh, and Yeah, hey guys in chat, let's not worry about it. Let's if somebody wants to come in and troll, we'll deal with that here in a little bit. Just don't let it bother you. Stuff like that happens. Life happens. Um, but let's see. So I want to believe that the Bad Batch did not execute Order 66, but that they probably stayed within the Empire and probably fought specifically on different kind of missions. What happened to Commander Cody? This is another one that I believe that he was ended up being forced to retire. Was basically given a hero's retirement, but yes. Okay, so SWB, throw that in the comments, because as far as I know, from what I've looked into this, he was basically retired because he was considered kind of not as useful. So, um, will Rex, Ahsoka, and Boba Fett be in the Mandalorian season 2? I think yes. I think that Ahsoka is going to play a bigger role than what we thought. I think Rex is going to be in there briefly, and I think Boba Fett is just very briefly going to be in there. As I've said on my streams before, I think Boba Fett is the most overrated character in the history of Star Wars and maybe in any kind of media ever, so I don't really care about Boba Fett being in there. However, if they give him a cool arc, let's put it this way. I liked Boba Fett in the Legends books. I thought they did some great things with him and showed his story as far as him dealing with a lot of crap from being a clone. And I thought that they did some really, really interesting things with him. So if they go in a direction where they make him a more interesting character, don't make him just the bad guy or don't make him just the good guy, but make him like morally ambiguous. I think that Boba Fett could be really cool in there. But as far as Rex, I think Rex will be in there briefly. I think Rex will have a bigger role to play in uh, future live action stuff. Uh, yeah, Boba Fett had a horrible death. Uh, but I do think that there's going to be a connection between Rex and somebody that was in season 1, and that is Dr. Pershing, who had a Camino patch on his uniform, which means that he has dealt with cloning, which means that he could potentially be somebody that can either stop or reverse Rex's accelerated aging. And I think that that would be a cool storyline to see Rex be able to live a little bit longer. So that would be cool. All right, so we are going to move on to. Oops. Eat my bullets. My favorite lightsaber color. So I kind of looked in on these, and I think it would be green. Green is generally used by practitioners that were less warrior-like and more interested in the wisdom of the Force, and I do think that that's what I would be. However, I do have to say that the Mace Windu's purple was probably the coolest. I love the story of how Ahsoka was able to turn lightsabers white, and of course you have Anakin who used blue, which was he's one of my favorite characters. So but you know what? I would have to go green because it would probably be more in line with who I would want to be as a Jedi. Now, as far as the character Star Killer, I never played The Force Unleash. The brief little bit that I know about him, he was trained under Darth Vader, and apparently, uh, if I'm correct, he kind of went back into the kind of flirted with the light side, but I'm not 100% sure. So I can't really answer that one very well. I'm going to go back to, well, let's see, to SWB on here because he's talking about Cody. This is Legends, but it works for canon. He went to Camino after retiring and trained stormtrooper cadets. He realized that they were nothing like clones, so he treated them hardly and became hated. I like that. That's actually a pretty cool story for Cody because he would not be the type that would probably take too kindly to being replaced. Uh, I would love to know if eventually he later on in retirement realized that he was on the wrong side of things. So that would be cool to find out. Now, since Yaddle was a powerful Jedi and was considered dangerous to the Council, if she hadn't died earlier before Episode 3, what if she went face to face with Vader in Episode 3, or the attack on the Jedi Temple? Now, did she officially die before Episode 3? I thought she was off world. I thought she was off doing something else. Um, when did she die? Because on that part, I didn't really see. I'm gonna go back to this. Starkiller pulled a Star Destroyer out of the sky. So we have some pretty powerful Force users that were able to pull ships out of the sky, or actually pull them down. But you know what? I'm not a fan of anybody, even a Palpatine or Vader, being able to pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky. To me, uh, that's I think sometimes when they do something and they make the Force powers so ridiculous, that it kind of breaks the magic of what Star Wars is. Because then you could say, well, maybe they could just blow up an entire planet with the Force, or like where do we end? Where do we end this? Could they stop existence? Come on, let's. I don't. I'm not a fan of of that. She okay. So in Legends, she died after Episode 1. I will have to look. Eventually, I want to look into that because honestly, part of my theory too is that Baby Yoda is her child, and she left after Episode 1 to go take care of him for a while. But then something happened to where Baby Yoda went elsewhere. Now, as far as with that being said, you're like, well, Jedi aren't supposed to have children or have attachments. Uh, Key D Mundy, or I think is how you say his name, because his race had so many problems having children, and their population was dwindling. He was allowed to have children. He had many, many, many children. He just wasn't able to really be a father to them. And I think Yaddle and Yoda, since their species is so rare, I think that they would be allowed to have. Uh, I think that they would be allowed to have children. So it wouldn't surprise me too much, but at the same time, I think that's too simple. I don't think Baby Yoda is going to be the child of either Yoda or Yaddle or their child together. So, uh, but if Yaddle would have gone face to face with Vader in Episode 3, once again, canon wise, how much do we know about how powerful she was? We know that the Yoda species is very powerful, so it's very possible that she too was really good with lightsaber combat and all that. But I think it's more a uh, I think it's more of a better question of what if Yoda fought Vader in the Jedi Temple, and I think at that point, uh, Yoda would have been able to take Anakin slash Vader. Okay, in Legends, which works with canon, she did died sacrificing for a world. Anakin was there too, and he thought Yaddle's death was his fault. Uh, Once again, Legend. I love Legend material. I read every single book from New Jedi Order all the way to Legacy of the Force. I love that stuff. Unfortunately, at any point, any of that can be contradicted by the new canon. So, we will see if they ever do anything with Yaddle again. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Yaddle would specifically, how she would have handled going against Vader in Episode 3. Now, number 4, that's another one where it's too much facts. If anybody has any input on that, throw it in the comments and I'll read that off. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what on number 4. And number 5. Yeah. Uh, and I said earlier, if you weren't in this, I really underestimated how much work was going to kick my butt in these last couple weeks, and specifically this last weekend. And I had a choice last night of getting some streaming time in. And streaming hours have dropped significantly since I started working, or really really preparing for this, and I decided to stream like 8 hours yesterday. So uh, I'm gonna in the future when I do these, it's gonna be less facts. Or if you guys supply me with, hey, this is what happened, what are your thoughts? And that's kind of how I'm going to do these things. It's going to be more opinion based, and it's going to be much, much less on comics and books and more on movies and TV shows. Want to buy some death sticks? I have avoided all these years ever smoking cigarettes, so I'm going to pass on the death sticks. Hey, it's all good. Uh, Eat my bullets. I like those types of questions. Like I said, I just really underestimated how much work was going to kick my butt. So I had to refocus my energies this weekend. So uh, I think we could figure out a different forum for being able to have those kind of conversations on some of those that are a little bit more deep, as to where we can have like conversations within Discord or something like that, and have a little bit more back and forth within that, so that we can kind of maybe get a little bit deeper on those subjects. But once again, great questions there, Eat My Bullets. All right, so on to the next one. So we are going to go with Lucia. What ancient sigh is your favorite and why? I would say it's the sigh of a caveman about to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Now I know what you mean. What ancient Sith is your favorite and why? And it would definitely be Darth Bane. He was the one that really set up this rule of two. And without him, we would not have Palpatine. We would not have Vader, Maul, Dooku. Without Bane, we would have just had this huge, long-running Sith versus Jedi intergalactic war, and the complacency of the Jedi would not have been set up the way that it was for them to fall officially, for the Jedi Order to fall. Oh, sweet. Yeah, watch that, SWB. Let me know what you see on that. Uh, and now, so this last one, uh, and uh, hey, what's up, Lori? How you doing? Uh, so Garrett, the one that I saw on the about Maul's robotic legs, and that's another one. That's one that I kind of want to do as a specific video. Uh, I did not have time to go back and rewatch that. And I know it was a cool story, but I will get to that some other time, because that's I don't think a lot of people that aren't into the Clone Wars truly understand how great of a arc that Maul had within the Clone Wars. If all they ever saw him in is Phantom Menace, they don't understand how truly great of a character he is. So I think it's important for people to. Uh, so don't be sad. Don't be sad, Garrett. That's another one. So when once again, when I do these things, I want it to be more on questions of what I think on things and less on specific facts. Because that's how I view history. That's how I view things. I'm more of a feel and opinion person and less on facts. I couldn't tell you a name of a king in Europe way back in the days, but if you give me a story about it, I could tell you how I felt that king's actions may have affected the people around him and the events of future history. Oh, awesome, Luke! Happy birthday, Luke! Uh, so the last one, and this one I wasn't sure if I was going to put on here because it was a joke, and there was a bunch of uproar about this when it got spammed into it. But I want to spin this into something where to talk about the Jedi and some of the mistakes that they made, and that is this: who is Gay Count Dooku? And if you've been on the stream and watched for a while, you know that Joe and Thomas and all them do the GCD thing quite a bit. And while I don't want to really get into that specifically, I will say this: the concept that Count Dooku uh, had the capacity to love, period, and uh, and the fact that it's possible that his he just never was able to go down that route of any kind of love is very symbolic of where the Jedi went wrong. And one of the reasons why Anakin fell to the dark side. Had they not had these uh, basically banned attachments, period, Anakin would have been able to go to the Jedi Council when he started having those dreams. They would have been able to help him get through those really deep emotions, and he would have never gone to become Palpatine's apprentice, and Anakin probably would have killed Palpatine. The Jedi messed up. So Dooku, if he was gay or straight or anything, and felt that he needed love in his life, and the fact that he was not allowed to have that, I'm intrigued by that thought that that's one of the reasons why he went to the dark side, because he plain and simply was not able to have a need fulfilled. And that, I think, was pretty common amongst the Jedi and one of their biggest failures. So, with that being said, those are the ones that I had from the chat that I will discuss today. So, from here, what I want to do is I want to discuss. I'm going to make this bigger. Uh, for the next few minutes, some questions you have on my thoughts on things going forward. Uh, the new Star Wars game has its trailer out now. Let me see something. Let me see if I can. You know what? Let's see if we can't. Let's see. Oh, let's see if I can find the video on that. We might be able to put that within my stream. We might be able to do a reaction to this. Let's see if we can do that. That might be kind of fun. But I have to find it. Oh, Star Wars Squadrons, I think it is. Oh, so let's do this. Let's go here. Let's do this real quick. Have I ever had depression? I've dealt with depression for 20 some years, Flickster. Uh, one of these days, I will do a question and answer type session specifically on that, so you guys can ask me questions, because I have successfully gotten to the point where I've learned to not only live with depression but strive uh, with it. So that's something that I want to do with the Long Live Geek brand, is to help people that have those problems or whatever, because there are ways to get better. I don't know that there's ways to completely get rid of it, but there's ways to be able to live a full and satisfying life even with depression and anxiety. Uh, so let's do this. I'm going to try this real quick. See if I don't mess something up. So we're going to go. Let's see. We're going to try to show this trailer on here. And do a reaction to it. See. Oh, you guys don't want to see that stuff. That's not going to help you out. I've been wanting to do like these types of videos for a while. Just kind of reactions. This could be actually kind of fun. So let's do this. Now let's go. Oh. Yeah. I messed that up. Because I'm not hearing sound. No, let me do this. Let's do this. Why am I not hearing sound on it? No, it's lagging. It's not very... Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work. Trying to figure this out on the fly, probably not the best move I've ever done. So, how about this? I'm gonna watch it real quick, and I will, as I go, even on my end, if you guys want to start watching it here real quick, we'll kind of discuss this here in just a second. Let's see what everybody thinks on it. Let me watch real quick. Great sound, graphics look really, really good so far. So you're actually going to be able to play as the Empire, it kind of looks like? This looks actually... It's not gameplay, though. Like, okay, that looked like that might have been a little bit of gameplay. So it's going to be, what, 5-on-5, or... All right, so... how much do I think it's... If I were to guess, I would say uh, Squadrons would be in that $60 range. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Yeah, let me go look at the chat during that. All right, I'm going to look through some of the chat here real quick. Okay, first of all, on that game, uh, I can't tell you how I feel about it because without seeing actual legitimate gameplay, without knowing how the gameplay is going to be, it means nothing to me. It's kind of like the new Avengers game. Until I know how the multiplayer is going to work, I don't have a real opinion on it. Uh, However, that trailer looked fantastic. If it's 5-on-5, that could be interesting. Uh, yeah, I just didn't really. I don't like the Starfighter modes on Battlefront 2, so I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about that. What's my opinion on Jedi Fallen Order? You know what? Let me look at something real quick. How much is Fallen Order right now? How much does it cost? Because I like what I've seen of the storyline on it. I'm not a game mode type person, so I don't really anticipate myself playing it. But I know I'm having my nephew come over here sometime this week, and I was gonna have him play campaign mode. Uh, Maybe I'll buy Jedi Fallen Order. It's $30. You know what? I'm gonna buy Jedi Fallen Order this week, and I'm gonna have my nephew play the game, and I'm going to sit next to him, and I'll be doing some actual like commentary as he plays. So how about that? Well, I'm gonna do that. So, let's see. Commander Fox got killed by Vader by him breaking his neck. Palpatine will come back probably. Okay, so let's say that. So Vader broke his neck. What was his reason for breaking his neck? Was it something like in the past? Did he say the wrong thing to him? Or did Commander Fox not follow an order? Palpatine will come back probably because they killed him like he wanted, and Bad Batch have been seen in comics serving the Empire. Uh, yeah, I would see them serving the Empire because I mean I would see them being loyal. However, uh, as far as them executing Order 66, I would like to know if they actually executed it. Yes, you can't see the trailer. I was not able to Flickster. I was not able to get the trailer to play within that without it being really laggy. So I figure out something with Bad Batch. What is it, the SWB? And as far as the game looking like it's the peak of the Empire, it kind of looked like it. That looks interesting. Once again, I'm not okay. So if there's canon elements that are going to be part of the story mode, I'm interested in learning about those. I just won't play this. I won't play the story mode. So I'll probably end up getting it if I find out that the gameplay is actually good, and if it seems like there's going to be a huge player base, then I will definitely play the game, and I'll just struggle through it in the beginning and hopefully eventually get good at it. Oh, Luke, you will definitely be able to play either faction because it's going to be multiplayer. So you're going to have Rebellion side and then Empire side. I think I already said that, Garrett. About $60 is probably what it'll be. Yes, there is a single story player storyline. From what I have seen, I believe that it's not going to be a long story mode. They are focusing mainly on the multiplayer. Uh, let's see. Ooh, I gotta find. Yeah, Luke, you enjoyed Fallen Order. I'm looking forward to watching it. I really enjoyed. I'm gonna enjoy watching my nephew play Fallen Order. I really think so. And I'm really interested in the storyline. I've actually almost gone on YouTube, and you can find those that's like several hours long, where they have all the cutscenes, so you can see the story behind it. And I, yeah, I think it's I'm gonna enjoy watching it. You can get 20% off Fallen Order through Battlefront 2, so it's $29.99 right now in the PlayStation Store. So the question is, Jake, is that 20% off that, or I will have to look at that. I will download that tomorrow. Cameron, hey, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for joining us on the stream. Thanks for watching. All right, let's see. SWB. What are the things that you found? Haha, Jar gets the Trandoshan pilot. Yes, there's a Darth Lizard that's going to be piloting his ship. It's going to be awesome. Uh, nice, Luke. Everything I've seen about the storyline, I think it's actually probably a really good story. Hey, what's up there, WTRE06? Uh, let's see, because Vader was shot at because they thought he was a Jedi, then Vader got mad and snapped his neck, and he got shot because he was trying to. Oh yes, uh, yes, he was trying to kill the librarian, but uh, Vader wanted. That's right. I have seen something on that. I've actually watched some videos on that, and he wanted the librarian Jocasta. I think he wanted her alive because there's information that he wanted from her, and I believe she ended up sacrificing herself so that information would die with her. Yeah, so Commander Fox figured out that Vader was Anakin. That would get you killed. They definitely did not want anybody to know that. Uh, you're Sad Moons. You're mad when Anakin turned to the dark side. Now you knew that before you watched those movies, right? Uh, because it it was uh, it was an emotional journey seeing him fall to the dark side. Now if we would have gotten the Clone Wars cartoon in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and gotten all that story build up in between there, and if Ahsoka was already a character and we would have seen some of her in Revenge of the Sith, that would have been even more emotional at the end of that. Yep, Mason. I do believe that this game is going to be towards the end of, or it's going to be during a peak portion of the Empire. I don't think this is going to be uh, after Return of the Jedi when there's still Imperial forces around. Yaddle had a Force power where she could weaken a Sith Lord's connection with the Force. That would come in very handy. Darth Vader did not die in A New Hope. He died at the end of Return of the Jedi. There's Sad Moons. Let's see. I'm gonna try to get down to the bottom of this thread here. So, two theories on the Bad Batch. They went to Kashyyyk. They were probably under Luminara's command. Uh, Yes, and they either captured her or they had their chips. So Luminara was one of the few Jedi that did not get killed. She was captured because the Emperor had some things that he wanted to do with her. So she got to live a little bit longer, but she was executed for her crimes against the Empire. And then if you saw in Rebels, her Force essence was used to lure Jedi to their death. Let's see. Oh, okay, there's a Stormtrooper squad under Vader's command called Scar Squad that has a buffed trooper, a sniper in a cloak, a trooper with a glowing blue visor, one with robotic parts. That sounds interesting. Uh, oh, yes, that's right. So, Jocasta knew, figured out that Anakin was uh, Darth Vader, so she let them know, and he could not allow those clone troopers to live. So, yes, Alexandru. Yes, there's the new game called Star Wars Squadron. I will wait to give you my opinion on that until I actually see what the gameplay is going to be like, to see if it's something that I'm really going to be interested in. I will get it. This will be one of those games that I will probably just have to struggle through in the beginning. It's not my type of game, but I think it is going to be the multiplayer Star Wars game for the foreseeable future. So if I want to continue on this path with my channel, I'm going to have to play it. I'm gonna have to play it. I'm gonna have to be committed. I'm probably going to hate it at first. I'm not gonna lie to you, but you know what? I struggled with Battlefront 2 in the beginning. I struggled hardcore. I almost, after about a week of playing Battlefront 2, I started looking into some other games, and I almost quit playing it because I was playing Galactic Assault, and I was just getting like 2 eliminations and getting killed like 25 times, and I really hated it. So, uh, let's see. There's no 20% off of the middle page of Battlefront. It placed it with Star Wars Squadron pre-order and trailer. Either way, it's $30. $30 isn't too bad, so I will get that. Why do some Jedi disappear after they die? Because they become one with the Force. And I think that they have to have learned how to fully become one with the Force. Even Qui-Gon didn't do that when he died because he hadn't learned all the secrets. But at the same time, that's why, man, I don't know. When did Kylo learn how to become one with the Force so that he could become a Force ghost? Sounds good, Luke. Uh, because honestly, that was a little weird that Kylo was able to disappear. However, we do know, and I believe this is canon, when Anakin Skywalker died at the end of Return of the Jedi, time slowed down very much for him, and his conscious was able to communicate with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and what seemed like a very long time for Anakin was very few seconds in the real Star Wars world. And Obi-Wan was basically like, "Hey, buddy, glad you turned back to the light side. You were the chosen one. Thank you for doing this. If you want to become one with the Force, I've got to teach you this really, really quick." And because he was able to slow down time, Anakin was able to learn this. So I'm wondering if the same thing happened with Ben Solo within those brief moments right before he died, when Rey was holding him. I think it's possible that somebody talked to Kylo, uh, and taught him. In fact, uh, it could have very well been his grandfather who talked him through on becoming one with the Force. And I'm gonna just to linger in this for just a couple more minutes. Uh, I'm gonna answer just a couple more questions, and then I'm going to stop this stream, grab something to drink, and then I'm going to start a Battlefront 2 stream here in just a minute. Real quick, skills. What do you think about a new trilogy going forward? I want them to focus on TV. I think a form storytelling is the future of Star Wars. Disney Plus is the future of Star Wars. I am not really that interested in seeing more movies, other than to see them uh, in the theaters. But if there are movies, I would like to be them to be less focused on introducing characters and having characters that we've already been introduced to, and characters who have had time to grow on us within the television part of Star Wars. Uh, oh, and then so Sad Moons. I do have. We will see as far as playing with people on Battlefront 2. I do have that. I don't like being asked that a whole lot. I do play with viewers sometimes. It depends on what kind of stream I'm going to do. If I'm going to focus on just jamming out to music, if I'm going to allow people on the to be in my ear, be on audio. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I don't. Depends on what kind of groove I want to have within my stream. Why doesn't anybody recognize R2D2 and C3PO? That is a good question. I think Obi-Wan Kenobi does recognize them. I just don't think it was an important thing. If he were to let Luke know that he recognized them, then all of a sudden that creates a whole different bunch of other things that he has to explain to Luke at that moment. And he does say that he doesn't remember ever owning a droid because he never owned a droid. And I do think R2D2 probably actually recognized Obi-Wan, but once again, R2D2 knows what's going on and knows that he can't disclose all the information. And last question, and then I'm going to finish this stream and start a new one for Battlefront 2. Why doesn't Vader sense anything about Leia? Because I think he wasn't trying to. I don't. I think sensing Luke was. Well, first of all, Luke was using the Force actively when he blew up the first Death Star. I think he was actively using the Force. Leia was not actively. Uh, the Leia wasn't actively using the Force, so he wasn't gonna sense it. And Joe, I did answer your GCD question. You'll have to rewind and go back on the video because I am getting off of here and starting a new Battlefront 2 stream here in just a second. And if you have more questions, if you want to join that stream, then I will probably answer a few more questions. But anyways, that's the end of this Ask Me Anything stream, and